Hello and welcome to Macro Mondays here on Landy's Crypto Corner. Today is April 7th, 2025, and Bitcoin has ran its lows and closed back above inside of this little accumulation zone yet again. We did hit, I think we swept down to 74, 420, 69. Nice, man. The market really is a meme, isn't it? Look, Bitcoin swung its low. It closed back inside, thus preserving this little accumulation range. Now, this is a downtrend. A nice buyback, yes, but what we did observe was a close right at, let me fix this. This should be a little bit clearer, and forgive the noise in the background. I'm going to be doing some stuff here where I will not be around, and that is not going over well with the kids. So they're a little upset. But it's just a little quick hop, skip, and a jump, and then I'll be back anyway. So either way, Bitcoin did not close below the 78 167 swing low. And when turning on volume, I do think that it's kind of important to understand the context here. After wick fishing down here, we did see a good amount of volume come in. And, we have seen some volume on the way down, kind of, on the close, definitely marking the highs up here for one of the larger red candles on the way down. But then we saw the 78,167 swing low here kind of define the closing range lows here. So closing below, we're likely going to go wick fishing again, possibly even go for a more expansive move down to test last year's accumulation highs. Some people have it at like 68,000 to 73. I've extended mine down to 65. I gave you my thesis for why I did that based on the monthly basis band. So that's what I'm sticking with. 65 to 73, 835 is the zone below price action. Some people are going to consider this hit. This is still a move in progress, though, as we are getting confirmed expansion, 47 over 39 here. Bitcoin living below the lower first and even getting a close open, granted, above the lower second. So we would need to see the low drop there at around $78,000. And we're either going to see lower term time frames swing the lows again, possibly hitting some of the downside targets, or if it closes below there, with an actual closure, then we're probably looking at the move actually progressing further down to try and test last year's kind of range highs of prior to the breakout. So in this case, we just kind of wait and see. To the upside, same criteria. Although now a trend break would occur on any closes above around 84,720. I still would want to see $85,000 closed above. We're going to go ahead and get rid of this red line here. We'll turn off volume bars here. And let's go ahead and turn on the local support and resistance areas of interest. Again, I want to see closes back above $85,000. That is the first post-expansion bear candle swing low. And this also defined an area where we saw another swing low come in on a higher low basis. In this case, we had this the consolidation that was put in here, swing high to swing higher low, with a closing higher low put in here right at the 1.168 at 88,700. So again, that's also right where we saw that first bearish candle post expansion up out of that prior range from last year. So some people are going to consider this hit. I would still say keeping a close eye on it. Anywhere below $78,000, we're running these lows, and it does increase the odds of hitting that 73,835, dipping into the zone, and it's a big one at that, from 65,600. You can call it $65,000 even. The key level of the prior high in there from last cycle at 69, then of course 73,835, and you can even refine down to some of the highs that came in here around 72 at the double top, so on and so forth. And we saw the closes over there as well. But for right now, it's not, in my opinion, that important to get too granular with it. We are in a pretty high volatility environment in traditional markets, so we'll just see what comes of it. Now, if we do see a low set here, the criteria for setting a low would come in on closes above 81,223 now. Then we can start to look to this last lower high swing at right around 84.7. Again, preferably you want to see closes above $85,000. And then there's a lot of work to do. Come up where we saw the two tests into that overhead resistance at 88,700. You can call it $89,000 there by the upper second to get expansion in to retest this overhead resistance in full for the zone. Between that 88.7 and 92K. Again, we're looking for a weekly recovery, not just a daily recovery, but a weekly recovery of the last higher low on a close open on the weekly at 93.5. That would look really good for the bulls. Still doesn't do much, still bearish below the Twin Tower candles, which was a retest of the initial expansion down here. So that's $95,000. So if we did see a weekly recovery of 93.5, we'll probably already have seen or will see 95K tested, but we need to start seeing daily closes above there and then more macro timeframes closing above there. That look really good. Other than that, not too much to say about the daily. You know, a lot of the stuff that we talked about on Friday kind of came to fruition. You know, we did get a nice front run of the actual prior range there, prior range highs. So, you know, if this is going to be a deviation wick, we'll see a close probably back above 81, 223, and then we can start gauging it from there. That would throw another bit of regular bullish divergence off of this RSI structure there. And excuse me, and considering where Bitcoin is trading now, we'd also get momentum divergences. 77,650 would be the momentum turn. Again, we need to see close over close momentum after a shift like that. So right now, where price is trading at right around $79,000, you know, it would still turn momentum back to the upside here, but we would need to see the additional criteria. You know, it doesn't do much unless we start seeing at least a low set above 80, that 81,223. So just something to keep an eye on there. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. Check on the weekly. We are probably looking at a slight bit more weekly expansion to the downside. Yes, we are. We do have a lower high to pay attention to. That's at 88,800 in this case. You want to see a wick low reclaim of 89, and then the close open higher low there at 93.5 reclaimed. And of course, we did get 93K on our basis band here. If we do start to see this grow into an actual green candle and not just a doji and or dump out for expansion down into the range highs over here, then you're likely going to see the basis band come right in line with this higher low close open at 93.5. It is here on spot 93,563.35. So, you know, we got a meme swing low here thus far on the daily that is not confirmed as a closing low for the daily. And then, of course, you know, if this weekly is going to be a lower low, you need to see a trend break in this case above 88.8 at minimum. Nice reclaim of 89, and then the close open structure for more progress to the upside here. We do see the upper first coming in line at $101,000. That's an important area on the daily overhead there. So on any intense rallies back to the top side here, just be aware of that. Now, there are some bullish signs that could occur should this low hold, or even if we do get a swing into that prior structure and get a nice buyback. But you see the upper first there right at the daily area at 101. And that's going to be an interesting one to watch. Now, if price can recover that range above, mainly because as it stands right now, let's say, just spitballing here, let's say this is the low, just for example's sake. We would need to see a downtrend break above 88.8 at minimum. You want to see all the reclaims I was just talking about. But an intense rally back up, even to 101 or even, you know, 109, you need to start seeing closes above there and the upper second. You don't want to see price coming from one lower second or one second standard deviation, like in the downside second standard to the upside second standard, and then reject. That would look really bad. So you want to see structure being built Preferably, bulls would want to see this be the low, right? And then take out the 88.8, recover the overhead zone here, and start maybe putting in some structure there, whether it's a swing, higher high than the 88.8 high, or a closing higher high, doesn't really matter, and then swing higher low, equal low structure as it relates to this low down here, if this is going to be the low. And what could potentially happen if this area holds, like that daily area that I was just pointing out through the week? Something to look for is closes back above 82, 300 to 400 area would turn stochastic momentum back to the upside on the weekly. Can we get an edge on the 5-day? Maybe. Closes above 79.5 or so, 79,550 would start to do it. Same kind of areas of interest, 88.8 at the last lower high. We have the lower high locked in on a close as well. For the 5-day, though, we actually got to see like right around that 88.8 get taken out. That would be a more preferable move from this area. If this was going to grow into a green candle, or then close somewhere around here, and then the next 5-day leg up to try and take out that 88.8, reclaim 89 kind of area, that would look okay. But right now, this is a move in progress on expansion to the downside for the 5-day, which increases the chances of hitting the highs over here. So again, like anywhere between that monthly I talked about earlier this month at 65 to that 73.835 fair game from here. Whether it's on a swing, doesn't really matter, or on a close, doesn't really matter. It's a downtrend. So what could we see potentially coming up on the 5 days at 79,550 or so? That look pretty good. You could even take, just take 80K to be safe, because if this does turn into a bull candle, it's probably going to be more like 80K for that pivot. There's not much going on here in terms of interest in this current downtrend. For this current downtrend on RSI and price action, there is no in-trend bullish divergence. Could we see bullish divergence develop from some of the other structure, from the lows of the prior range down here? Yes. But as it stands right now, it's not in-trend bullish divergence. So, it'd be continuation drives in that case. And could that, get things back up to the high, maybe even back up to the highs here, back in range? Likely if we see it develop. So something to just keep an eye on it all. I don't have too much more to say. We have to see how the rest of this week develops. Now I'm going to be only available tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday. I will be on Spaces and maybe even joining a few live streams here and there, but I will not be live streaming some of the normal TA stuff that I do, because I'm going to be busy. I have a pretty big meeting. I only got one, but it's a pretty big one that I'm going to be, taking the time to prepare for. We'll put it that way. And but yeah, I'll still be around. You'll still hear my voice on stages likely, in the mornings, afternoons, and evenings. As the meeting is going to be one that I'm excited about, and one that I can't talk about. But it is. I'll likely talk around the subject as I come through. Come to some conclusions based on what occurs in that meeting. But let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of crypto here. So take a look at ETH. Oh, ETH, you fell apart. You hit some key levels, and the next big key level, so it swept the 1520 level. Did it even try to hold itself up there? It did initially, and then immediately keeled over, deviated, found it as resistance a couple times, and then regained it. It's kind of consolidating above 1369, fair game. In fact, I would say that is kind of an intermediate level. It's really all about this 1520 on a close for the monthly. Otherwise, then we would be looking for like $1,200 to that $1,000 range, $1,100 range. You'd just call it $1,000 to that $1,200 right here, and then it's fair game at that would open up the target for that $900 call. You're welcome to those who said that I was calling it before I called it. I didn't actually call that as a level because there's still these supports to get through. But they are starting to look more viable if Bitcoin were to break down to its prior zone highs, right, from the prior range last year. That would look like, hey, ETH could potentially lose this area as it is a bigger one. For the weekly here, you know, we're just kind of seeing a bearish downtrend on expansion. I mean, that's what this is. So could it drop more? Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm a buyer below 2K, so I'm scaling in. Lot sizes get bigger the further the price falls. I did hit one of my orders down here, so I'm happy with that. And if it were to fall to incredibly low levels, I'll still be a bidder. They just get bigger as price falls. That's all. I mean, realistically, you know, I've seen people calling out the bear market lows, and I mean, even if it went lower, we're looking at from a scale from like, you know, where I was willing to bid again below 2K, which is right about here, to those lows and lowers. You're looking at 55% in a 55% drawdown, so chopping your portfolio in half for what you're accumulating. But if, you know, it's not like these are bigger buys. My biggest buys would be below the low, right? That's where everything starts to really get pulled down. But as price comes down, you scale in with bigger lot sizes. That's how I do it, not financial advice, but that's how I'd be positioning and how I am positioning. That's how I'd be positioning if price falls further and there are resting orders. So I am in it for the layer twos. And for Solana, Solana hit the intermediate weekly area of interest here, swept through 98,000. And this is an ongoing move for the weekly here as well. 90K is in the cards. Could it push down further and through? Sure. That's when we start looking at 90K. I said 90K. $90. Sorry. Not 90K Solana. $90 Solana is a viable target below, you know, basically below $100. If that were to continue down, then $80 is the play. Down to 78 is kind of a no man's land. From here, I mean, this is now the lower high at 147. Got to take that out, change structure. Could it settle low in and around here? Let's go ahead and take a look at the weekly. Do we have any hopium? Closes above 117 would do it. About $10 away right now. And again, in this intermediate zone for Solana, we're looking at 118 right here. So it needs to get out of this weekly area of interest where it put in some two big dojis and some two big swings. That would start to look good to go test 125 again at minimum, but it's still bearish below. You know, it's still bearish below 147, and even then, you want to see it create a higher high than the last lower high, and then come down higher low equal low structure as it relates to wherever this low comes in. So you know, it's a move in progress. Inside of this zone, I'm scaling in orders. They get bigger as price goes down. And again, there's the zone down here all the way down to $50, and even under, I have orders that are stacked, and they just get stronger and stronger the further the price falls. Now, I'm also into many other altcoins, and I even swept some meme coins initially. There's some meme coins that I really like, and look, I'm not here to name names on all that stuff, but I get a lot of requests for ETH and Solana, so there's my take on it for the weekly. Kind of recapped where Bitcoin is on the weekly here, where the daily is. Just big reminder. We'll kind of end this on this daily here, I guess, and kind of really give you, you know, kind of the major thing to pay attention to. That's 78K. Below 78K puts it below the lower second. That's expansion to the lows, possibly lower to retest the range. Highs from last year. What do we need to see break now to break this downtrend? That would be right around $84,000. And then to set the actual low on the daily now, 81,223. So closes below, even on lower term time frame, $78,000. We're probably running the low. If we haven't already run this most recent low, and we see a close below there, increases the chance that it will get hit, along with further down 73,835 to 65K. Set the low above 81,223. Need to see a downtrend break now above 84,720. I'd prefer to see $85,000. And then at least it can, possibly run the highs up here, just shy of 89. We see what happens there. Got to recover it. That's going to do it for me today. I hope that you all had a wonderful weekend. If there's enough interest, maybe I'll take a look at markets. We want to kind of see how things shake out anyway, in through Wednesday, but maybe Wednesday I will take a look, as I will be able to record. But for some of the live streams where I show my charts and stuff, I'm not going to be able to do so because I'm going to be on the road. So that's kind of, I will still record on Wednesday. It might just go up a little bit later in the day. And that's what I'm going to leave you with. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. Wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe. And of course, as always, stay safe. With all of that being said, Landy out. Take care.